Okay, so I want you to start by doing a quick mental inventory with me. Picture your suitcase. You know, the one, that reliable carry-on you use for the big trips.
Mhm.
You're packing for a vacation you've been planning for like 6 months. Maybe it's Europe. Maybe it's a hike in the Andes. You've got the packing cubes organized by color because you saw a hack on TikTok.
Of course.
You've got those expensive noise-canceling headphones because you know there's going to be a crying baby on the flight. You've spent hours researching the perfect walking shoes because blisters will ruin your day.
Yeah.
You are optimizing for every single thing that could possibly go wrong.
It's the standard ritual, isn't it? We obsess over the gear. We treat the logistics like a military operation.
We absolutely do. But what if I told you that the most important piece of gear for that trip isn't made of Gore-Tex? You can't buy it at REI, and you certainly can't pick it up at the airport kiosk 5 minutes before boarding. Today, we are flipping the script on a topic that usually feels like a chore or a lecture from your doctor. We're talking to vaccines, but not as medical compliance. We're talking about them as the ultimate travel hack.
It is a complete reframing of the conversation. I mean, usually when we talk about health maintenance, it feels like a checklist of obligations. You know, eat your kale, do your cardio, get your shots. It feels like homework. But today, we're doing a deep dive into this fascinating essay called The Quiet Case for Rolling Up Your Sleeve, written by Roberta Hill for her blog, Wanderlust Over 70. And she argues that this isn't about following rules. It's about high-level strategy.
And before you tune out because you hear over 70 and think, well, I'm not there yet, I don't need to worry about this, just hold on. Because while Roberta is writing for the mature traveler, the philosophy she lays out, this idea of strategic health, it applies to anyone who wants to ensure their life plans don't get derailed. Whether you're 30 or 80, the goal is the same.
Right.
You want to go places, and you want to actually enjoy it when you get there.
Exactly. The core mission of this deep dive is to look at health decisions as a form of continuity insurance. Roberta Hill published this piece in February 2026, and she tackles two massive themes that go way beyond the doctor's office. First, the brutal difference between aspirational travel, you know, the Instagram version, and actual travel. And second, a concept she calls quiet protection.
Quiet protection. I highlighted that term in the notes multiple times. It sounds almost like a Secret Service detail for your body.
In a way, it is. It refers to what scientists call off-target benefits. The idea that a vaccine might do a lot more than just stop a cough or a fever. It might actually be protecting your heart or your brain in ways you didn't expect.
We are definitely going to unpack that science because it is honestly mind-blowing. But Roberta doesn't start with charts and graphs. She starts with something deeply personal. She admits right off the bat that she is not naturally obedient.
I love that.
Yeah. She doesn't like health advice that comes in, as she puts it, bullet points and cheerful fonts.
Which I think makes her a very relatable narrator. She isn't lecturing from a pedestal. She's skeptical. She wants to know why she's doing something.
Right. She's got a rebellious streak. But despite that, she says when it comes to vaccines, flu, shingles, COVID, RSV, her sleeve is already rolled up, and she gives us the why. It wasn't a pamphlet that convinced her. It was witnessing the reality of illness in her own family, specifically her mother's experience with shingles.
And this is where we have to pause and really look at the reality of these conditions. We often dismiss things like shingles. You hear skin rash and you think, okay, it's itchy and annoying for a week. But Roberta describes it as something that took over her mother's life. It wasn't a footnote. It was relentless nerve pain that altered how she slept, how she moved, how she showed up in the world.
It's the disruption factor. It's not just, I feel sick today. It's, I cannot be the person I need to be. It stops you from participating in your own life. But then she tells a story about a dear friend that, well, it paints a picture I don't think I'll ever get out of my head. It is both hilarious and horrifying at the same time.
It certainly illustrates the severity of the situation in a way that statistics never could.
So get this. This friend had shingles so severely that he developed this intense sensitivity. He couldn't bear the feeling of fabric on his skin.
Any fabric.
Any fabric. Just the touch of a light cotton t-shirt was agony. So what did he do? He ended up living nude at home.
For weeks, just trapped in his house, unable to get dressed. And eventually, just to get some fresh air and feel like a human being again, he went to a nudist beach.
And we have to clarify, this wasn't a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
She wasn't trying to get an all-over tan or embrace some new philosophy.
Although Roberta does note he did enjoy nudist beaches generally. But in this specific instance, it was a medical necessity. It was the only place in the world where his body could exist without excruciating pain.
Can you imagine that? You are in so much pain that your only option is to go sit naked on a public beach because you literally cannot get dressed.
It's a vivid image, but she uses it to make a profound point. We tend to be so dismissive of these illnesses. We have this, I'll just toughen it out mentality. We think we'll just push through, take some ibuprofen, and be fine. Until it lands in our lives and impacts our dignity. Until it forces us to change our entire existence, like not being able to wear clothes.
That's the takeaway that rewired her brain regarding prevention. It's not about the shot itself. It's about avoiding the agony that cancels life. It's about not ending up on a nudist beach out of medical necessity.
Precisely. It shifts the motivation from compliance to avoidance of misery. And that personal realization opens the door to the broader scientific argument she makes. This is where we get into that concept of quiet protection.
Right, the aha moment. So Roberta mentions that she was surprised to learn that vaccines might be doing far more than we thought. You mentioned off-target benefits earlier. Let's define that clearly for the listener. What does that actually mean in a biological context?
So typically we think of a vaccine as a simple lock and key. You get a flu shot to stop the flu virus. That's the target, the on-target effect. But off-target benefits suggest that by preventing that specific infection, you are also reducing a cascade of downstream problems that can derail aging.
A cascade of downstream problems. So it's like preventing the first domino from falling.
That is a great analogy. If you stop the first domino, the whole tower stays standing. And the source lists some really specific heavy heating associations here. Let's look at the flu vaccine first. This is one that surprised me. Roberta points out that flu vaccines are associated with lower risks of heart attacks, strokes, and heart failure hospitalizations in older adults.
Okay, walk me through that. How does a shot in my arm for a respiratory virus help my heart? I feel like those are two totally different systems.
It comes down to inflammation and stress. Think about what the flu actually does to the body. It isn't just a runny nose. It's a massive inflammatory event. Your body goes to war. Your heart rate goes up. Your metabolic demand skyrockets. If you have any underlying vulnerability in your cardiovascular system, maybe a little plaque in the arteries that you didn't even know about, that stress test of the flu can be enough to trigger a heart attack or a stroke.
So by getting the shot, you're basically sparing your heart that marathonic stress test. You're keeping the peace treaty intact.
Exactly. You are avoiding the inflammation that damages the vascular system. You're keeping the system calm.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about shingles? We already established you don't want to end up nude at the beach, but Roberta suggests there's a downstream benefit there too, right?
There is, and this one is gaining a lot of attention in the medical community. The source notes that the shingles vaccination has been linked across multiple large studies to lower rates of dementia later in life.
Dementia. That is a massive connection to make. That feels like a leap.
It does feel like a leap, doesn't it? And we need to be careful. The mechanism isn't fully proven yet. But the leading theory involves, again, inflammation. There's evidence that the reactivation of the herpes zoster virus, which causes shingles, might trigger inflammation in the brain or damage the nervous system in ways that accelerate cognitive decline.
So keeping that virus dormant isn't just about saving your skin. It might be about saving your brain.
That is what the data is pointing toward. And then you have the RSV vaccine. We know RSV can cause pneumonia, but the quiet protection here is about keeping older adults out of the hospital entirely.
And she mentions COVID as well.
Yes. Specifically regarding long COVID. The vaccination lowers the risk of those lingering effects, the fatigue, the brain fog. As Roberta puts it, anyone dealing with that will tell you it is no small thing. Imagine trying to navigate a train station in Tokyo or Paris with severe brain fog.
That's a nightmare scenario. You can't read the signs, you can't focus on the announcement. So if we look at this list, heart attacks, strokes, dementia, hospitalization, brain fog, it really changes the value proposition. You're not just buying protection from a week of sneezing, you're buying protection for your long-term cognitive and physical continuity.
However, I have to play the role of the skeptic here, and honestly, Roberta does too. She's very careful to say these are associations, not necessarily causes.
Right. The classic correlation is not causation. Is it possible that people who get vaccines are just healthier people?
You hit the nail on the head. It's called the healthy user bias. It's a real problem in data analysis. People who go out of their way to get a flu shot are often the same people who eat their vegetables, exercise, don't smoke, and go to their checkups.
So maybe they have less dementia because they take better care of themselves in general and not because of the shot.
That is the big question researchers have to wrestle with. But the source notes that modern researchers are very aware of this. They try to adjust for these variables. They compare people with the same age, same education level, same chronic illness history. And the fascinating thing is, even after you strip away the healthy user bias, even after you account for the kale phthalates and the gym memberships, the signal is still there. The benefit remains.
And what makes the signal so strong now? Why are we hearing about this in 2026 and not, say, 10 years ago?
It's the scale of the data. Roberta mentions that we're looking at patterns identified across tens of millions of people across continents. This is where technology comes in.
She references AI-assisted literature analysis, right?
Yes. In the past, connecting a vaccine record from 2010 to a dementia diagnosis in 2025 across millions of patients was incredibly difficult. It was finding a needle in a haystack. Today, AI and modern statistical methods can synthesize that research in seconds. We can see connections that were invisible to the naked eye.
So it transforms the decision. It's not just a hunch anymore. It's a calculated bet based on massive data sets.
It makes the findings, as she says, harder to ignore.
I want to pivot back to the travel aspect now, because I think this is where the rubber meets the road, or I guess where the wheels meet the runway. Roberta describes herself as a mature traveler, and she makes a really important distinction between aspirational travel and reality.
This resonated with me. Aspirational travel is the dream. It's smooth sailing, sunsets, and perfectly timed connections. It's the brochure, but actual travel, that involves grit.
It's recycled air. It's touching handrails that 5,000 other people touched that day. It's using bathrooms that, well, let's just say aren't home.
It's long days on your feet, unfamiliar food, and strange pillows. It exposes you to the world, as she says beautifully, in all its beauty and all its bacteria.
In all its beauty and all its bacteria. That is such a great line. And for her, the goal isn't just to see the sights, it's to maintain the mobility to keep seeing them.
That word mobility is key. For the traveler, especially the older traveler, the goal is to keep moving. The cost of illness abroad is much higher than just feeling bad in a hotel room for a few days.
Oh, absolutely. Have you ever tried to navigate a foreign healthcare system?
I have, and it is terrifying. The language barrier, the insurance questions.
It is daunting. And Roberta points out that hospital stays are brutal when you are older and away from home. They disrupt routines and sleep. But she brings up a specific risk that I think a lot of people don't know about: deconditioning.
Deconditioning, it sounds like you just get out of shape, but in a medical context, it's more severe than that, isn't it? Much more severe. When an older adult is confined to a hospital bed, even for just a few days, they experience a rapid loss of muscle mass and functional ability. It's not just feeling weak. It's losing the ability to climb stairs or walk long distances. It's essentially aging 10 years in 10 days.
And recovery from that isn't quick. You don't just bounce back like you did when you were 20.
No, recovery takes much longer than the illness itself. She says anything that lowers the chance of landing in a hospital bed also lowers the chance of coming home changed in ways you didn't plan for.
That is a chilling thought. Coming home changed. You leave for a vacation and you come back with a permanent deficit in your ability to move.
Exactly. So when she packs for a trip, she's packing her good shoes to protect her feet, she's checking her travel insurance to protect her wallet, and she's getting her shots to protect her biological resilience. It's all part of the same strategy.
It's about minimizing interruptions. She wants to avoid the stories that begin with, "We never made it."
I think we all have heard those stories. Or maybe we've been part of them. The trip that got canceled last minute because of the severe flu, or the vacation spent inside a clinic waiting for test results.
And this is where she brings in the concept of continuity. Vaccines are about protecting memory, mobility, and the ability to say yes to the next trip. It's not about fear. It's about freedom.
That's a powerful way to put it.
Now, before we wrap up, I think it's important to touch on a very specific point Roberta makes regarding those who cannot get vaccinated, because the strategic approach isn't available to everyone.
That's a crucial distinction. Roberta adds a layer of compassion regarding medical exclusions. She acknowledges that not everyone can get vaccinated.
Right, we're talking about people with compromised immune systems, allergies, autoimmune conditions, or people currently undergoing treatments like chemotherapy.
Exactly. For those people, the decision isn't a choice. It's a medical impossibility or a high-risk gamble. Their bodies literally cannot handle the strategy we've been discussing. She argues that those realities deserve compassion.
And I think implicit in that is a really grounding perspective for the rest of us. If you can roll up your sleeve, if your immune system is robust enough to handle it, that's actually a privilege.
It is. It's a tool we have access to that others might not. It flips the script from, I have to do this, to, I get to do this. It's utilizing a privilege of preventative care to keep your life running.
Preventative care is never one size fits all, she writes. But for her, at this stage of life, having the option to protect herself feels less like compliance and more like high-level strategy.
It allows her to move through the world with confidence.
So let's recap where we've been on this deep dive. We started with the horror of shingles and the nudist beach solution, which I will honestly use as a cautionary tale forever.
It's permanently etched in my mind now.
Yeah.
I'll never look at a t-shirt the same way.
We moved through the quiet protection of off-target benefits. We learned that the flu shot isn't just for the flu, it's a shield for the heart, protecting against inflammation. We learned that the shingles vaccine might be a shield for the brain against dementia.
We looked at the massive scale of data backing this up, thanks to AI and modern analysis that filters out the noise and the bias.
And we tied it all back to the practical reality of travel, using health tools to minimize the avoidable risks so you can focus on the wisdom and wonder of the world.
It really shifts the narrative. Instead of dreading the appointment, you look at it as, well, buying yourself freedom.
That is the ultimate goal, information management for longevity.
And I think that's the definition of a deep dive. We took a topic that felt clinical, maybe even boring, and realized it was actually deeply practical and personal.
So here's a thought I want to leave you with today. We spend so much time planning our lives, our vacations, our retirements, our weekends. We research hotels, we read reviews for restaurants, we compare flight prices down to the dollar. We act like strategic geniuses when it comes to our itinerary. But how often do we apply that same strategic planning to our own biology?
That is the question.
If we stop thinking of health maintenance as a checklist of chores, something we have to do, and start thinking of it as purchasing continuity insurance for our future selves, how does that change the decisions you make today?
It changes it from a burden to an investment.
Exactly. It's about making sure you're the one deciding where you go next, not your health deciding for you.
Well said.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Check your passport, check your gear, and maybe, just maybe, check your vaccination record. We'll see you on the next one.
Safe travels.